Good evening, friends and film fans. You find me on my drive this evening, not in the cinema car park. I actually only came out the cinema about 20 minutes ago. But because it's a later screening, my daughter was at her dad's, so I just had to swing by and grab her. So therefore, I've let her into the house. I'm now sat in my own parked car on my own drive, reviewing a film. Just to add to the weirdness, I can see through the frosted glass in the front door the outline of my dog, who now knows that I'm home and is just sat by the front door going, "Mum, why are you outside, sat in your car, talking to strangers about films when you could be in here with me and I could bring you a shoe?" Just a bit of colour for you there. See, you don't get this from other film critics, do you? And that's why they probably make money from what they do and I don't. But never mind, I digress. This evening's film, first film of April, and my 19th film of the year at the cinema, was Mother's Instinct. This is a thriller, I guess, a psychological thriller of sorts. And it stars just two absolute powerhouses in the lead roles. Jessica Chastain and Anne Hathaway are playing best friends Alice and Celine. They live next door to each other on a beautiful street in suburban America. The year is never specified, but I'm thinking early to mid 60s, possibly. There's talk of the space race, there's talk of JFK, going on the hair and the clothes. I'm thinking, mid 60s. And they've both got sons, 7-year-old sons who are the same age. Max is the son of Celine, which is Anne Hathaway, and her husband Damien. And then next door you've got Alice and Simon, whose son is called Theo. And the boys go to the same little prep school and they're in and out of each other's houses, and it's all very fabulous. Until it's not. So very early on in the film, and this isn't a spoiler because it's very much in the trailer, very early on, there is a tragic accident and Max, Celine and Damien's son, falls to his death. The way the actual accident is handled in the film is superb. There's a lot of tension and it's really horrific. And then it happens, but you don't see anything. But it's done in a really, really clever way. And I mean, this is very, very near the beginning of the film. Celine is obviously devastated. She blames herself. Does she also blame Alice? Because when it happens, Max has been kept home from school because he doesn't feel very well. So Theo's gone off to school. And then Alice is gardening and she looks and sees Max stood on the balcony of the house trying to hang a birdhouse from a tree. And he falls. You don't see him fall. It's very, very well done in the way that it's, handled. And she doesn't get to him quick enough. And then everything, that's sort of the catalyst for everything else that happens in the film. And when I say the two actresses are powerhouses, they absolutely are. This incident, this horrible accident, drives a wedge between the friends. Anne Hathaway's Celine really leans into the grieving mother at the funeral with a veil. She's sort of very thin and she almost looks like something out of a fairy tale. She looks almost scary because the grief has just twisted her into something almost monstrous. And I don't mean that in an unkind way. She's just absolutely crushed by this, the loss of her son. It's indicated that she can't have any more children. And the rest of the film is about what happens to the relationship between these two women, the distrust between them, the growing bond between Celine and Theo, because Theo misses his best friend and Celine misses her son. And you've got Alice, you've got Jessica Chastain's character sort of trying to support her friend in this incredible, unthinkable grief, but also part of her thinking, just because you've lost your son doesn't mean you can have mine. No. And then it's revealed that actually Alice had some problems with postnatal depression because this is the 60s. And like I say, if it's mid-60s, they would have had the boys in like the late 50s. And Alice admits that when Theo was first born, she couldn't hold him. She had really bad anxiety and she was in basically what would have been a mental hospital for a while. So then as she starts to become worried about Celine trying to steal her child, she starts to become unhinged herself, which by contrast then makes Celine look positively balanced. And you find yourself questioning, who's in the right, who's in the wrong, which one of them is the most batshit. And you just know that badness is coming. It's short, and this is the third time this year I've said 90 minutes or thereabouts, which is, I don't know if 2024 is the year of the shorter film. Like, we've gone back to like 80s lengths. But this was an hour and 34 minutes. And my friend who I went with said, thank God it ended when it did. I don't think I could have taken any more tension. I thought it was okay. It was, on the one hand, like I say, the accident that sparks everything else happens very early doors in the film, but then I felt like it was a bit of a slow burn. Both the actresses and the leads were fantastic. In fact, all the cast were good. It looked great, and I loved the costume design and the sort of that crossover from the 50s to the 60s. Both women look fabulous, apart from, like I say, once the grief takes hold of Anne Hathaway, and she looks positively terrifying. But it's the hair and there's constant smoking, and before anything happens at the beginning, you see that the two couples are really good friends, and they're drinking and they're smoking and all this sort of stuff, and they've got these kind of quite cool lives where the husbands go out to work and the boys are best friends, and then it's just watching all of that unravel. It did have a couple of almost jump scares in it. The film it made me think of, and they're not the same at all, but it put me in mind of one of my favourite 90s psychological horror films, which is, because in the 90s there was a real spate of like really edgy, twisted psychological horror films. So you had things like Sleeping with the Enemy and Single White Female, and the one that it made me think of was The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, when Rebecca De Mornay's character comes after the family of a woman that she blames for her husband's death. So I kind of made me long for that. I kind of wanted a bit more psychoticness from the women, maybe. I don't know if that says there's something wrong with me. It was good. Like, I can't say it wasn't good. It was well shot. It looked great. It was tense. I don't know, I just felt it was like, it wasn't quite there, and it could have been a bit edgier, and it could have been a bit more unsettling, I felt personally. But like I said, the two leads were fantastic. I didn't know how it was going to pan out, so I hadn't figured out the ending, so fair play. They kept me on my toes, kept me guessing. It was a solid little thriller. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the two women behind me like screaming the place down during the jump scares, because normally that's me, and for once it wasn't. So yeah, decent. It's okay. I wouldn't rush out to see it if you're watching this and thinking you might go and see it, but if you catch it on a streaming service, it's entertaining enough. What more can you ask? Right, I need to go inside now, because even through the frosted glass I can tell my dog is very sad that I'm out here and not in there with her. So thanks for listening, and Katie out.